Hi there, it's me, Carole Anne Kaufman, in your next installment of Building a Better You. We're so happy to have you here today. We got a lot of excellent feedback about the homework assignment last week. Many of you went out, went to the karaoke bar, and actually had a good time. So congratulations. And for those of you who thought about it but didn't quite make it out the door, congratulations for thinking about something that seemed really difficult for you. And next time, maybe get your friends together, get out there, and actually just go have a great time. Have some fun out there. Now, today we're going to talk about interpersonal communication, communication apprehension, and I'm calling this segment How to Influence Yourself and Win Friends. So today we're going to just talk about some of the ins and outs of communication. Now, first of all, communication is all about sending and receiving messages, right? So every day we communicate. Whether we say something or not, communication is happening. As a matter of fact, scholars say you cannot not communicate. That no matter whether you're saying something with your voice, with your inflection, with your attitude, your body movement, with your sounds, something is always being communicated. Now, it's important that if you're trying to make an impression on somebody, that you're conscious of the fact that whether you're using the spoken word or not, some kind of message is being given out to the person that you're speaking with. In communication, you have the sender, so I'm sending out a message and you are receiving a message, and that's really the flow that it goes. But communication is a process. It's not a tennis match. It's not just back and forth. It's actually something that builds on itself. That I send out a message, you interpret it, you bring it back to me, I interpret that, and we build and we grow together inside of the communication. Now, if you find that you're just having a tennis match, then perhaps listening isn't happening, perhaps there's no growth happening in the conversation, and that's where you want to take a closer look and see where can you listen a little more effectively? Where can you be more sensitive to the audience that you're speaking to? That's a really important aspect, is really being considerate and open to who you're talking to. Know your audience. If you're talking to somebody that is, very tentative and hesitant, maybe don't come at them with too much energy. Maybe don't overwhelm who you're trying to speak with. Maybe start on their level and build from there. Now, you may really realize that interpersonal communication does communicate quite a bit. If I roll my eyes in the middle of your sentence, you're going to know exactly what I mean. And even if it was just an accident, it's still communicating something to the person that you're speaking with. So that's why we want to really take a closer look to all aspects of personal communication. Now, communication is interpretation, right? That we have shared meanings for things, and that's how we build messages and give and receive messages. But in actuality, you don't necessarily have the same meaning for something as everybody else does. Now, when somebody says bras, people probably think foundation garments, they probably think something that goes under your clothes. For me, I think money, I think hard work. My family is in the bra business, so when I think bras, I think about my mom. I think about, all the ordering that she has to do and all of the people that she's helped in the world. So that's just maybe strange, but a real example of how communication works out in the world. We want to be conscious of the fact that good communication is when we have shared meanings and we're building. We may or may not be communicating if we haven't checked in with somebody else and found out whether or not our meanings are shared, found out whether or not it's something that is really building, or whether you're just sort of talking to yourself and you're both just talking heads, right? That's when we know it's not working. Now, okay, let's talk a little bit more about self-concept, okay? Now, in communication, it all starts with the self, right? If you're the one communicating or you're the one receiving, you want to look at your self-concept. This is a huge aspect of who we are for ourselves. The self-concept is how you see yourself, and that comes from our experiences, our interpretations, and our life path. And how you see yourself definitely affects how we act in the world. If you see yourself as a great person, you probably go out and have a great day. If you see yourself as not such a great person, perhaps your actions are going to reflect that as well. Now, our identity is something that is helped to be created by what other people think of us. We hear other people making statements, we begin to get our interpretation of ourselves through communication with others. That's our identity. And that is an important aspect of our communication. If you can, ask people who they think you are, if you want to be clear about what your identity is for others. If you want to see how your communications are landing for other people, you might just ask. Now, self-esteem, something that's talked about a lot, and that's really about your feelings. That's about your attitude about yourself, and you can see it comes right from our self-concept. One of the ways that I have built my self-esteem in my life is through positive self-talk. Now, some people think that it's not something that's effective, but I found, and I know many people that have found great results in really altering the way you communicate with yourself. Now, if you wake up every day and you tell yourself great things about yourself and you encourage yourself, more than likely you're going to go out in the world and have a positive attitude. You're going to be able to navigate the waters of life a little more effectively. Self-esteem is not just a buzzword. It is a personal challenge if it's something that's difficult for you. I suggest that you look at your self-concept. See where these areas where you feel like you want to be a stronger, better person, and go out and really take a look at how you can expand that. And one of the ways is in having conversations just like this, really making yourself aware of what you can do to make a difference for yourself and others inside of communication. Now, interpersonal communication is not nearly as complex as it sounds. What it is communicating with other people. Oxford Reference Dictionary says interaction between individuals, typically one-to-one, although it can also include small groups, right? So this is interpersonal communication. It's basically communication, right? We've already discussed what that is. And interpersonally means between people. And that's when, as we've discussed, you want to really pay attention, know your audience, be sensitive to what's going on with other people. And using I feel statements is something that can make a difference when you need to communicate something that's a little more difficult. Instead of saying, hey, you were rude, right? That doesn't really land so great with the people you're talking to normally. But if you say, hey, I felt hurt about the conversation that we had last time and I'd really like to discuss it with you, I've always found that softens up the edges and creates a little more opportunity for people to be open to listening to the messages that I have. And then when I'm open to listening to them, then we're really creating some good communication. Now I want to go into communication apprehension. And communication apprehension is pretty much what it sounds like. It's feeling anxiety around communication events. Now, the guru of communication apprehension is James McCroskey, and he was a wonderful scholar. He did a lot of research, and he was the one that first let us know that about 70% of people are afraid of public speaking. And 15 to 20% are very highly communicatively apprehensive. So you'll find that lots and lots of people are afraid to speak in front of others or afraid to maybe make communications. But you know, it's debilitating in about, maybe 1/5 of the population. And that's why we're talking about it today, because it touches everybody, whether it's you feeling afraid or dealing with other people that are afraid. It's out there. And there are things that you can do to alter the way that you communicate and get a little more comfortable. And I want to shed some light on some of those different things that I've done for myself, some of the things you can do for yourself out in the world to make a difference with your communication apprehension on an interpersonal level. Now, one of the things that you want to know about communication apprehension is that some of it's learned, some of it's from experiences from our past, and some of it actually just might be genetic. But given that some of it is learned, there's an opportunity to learn something new. And I've always found that I don't necessarily have to feel comfortable in order to make a forward motion. Sometimes I'll make a new practice, start with baby steps, and then find that it actually works over time. Communication is just like anything else. If you practice, you can find that you could really create something special and you can grow from where you started. And there's been many times in my life that I was so shocked about what kind of difference practice could actually make. Okay, now I'm going to bring up a phrase that you have heard before. I didn't make it up. Some of the stuff you're hearing today, I didn't make up. Things don't have to be original in order to be important. Part of my job here today is just to tell you some of the things that I have learned that make a difference for me, some of the things I've seen that work for other people that I have noticed. And the phrase "fake it till you make it" is a wonderful phrase. What that means is, right now I'm talking to you, I'm having the most relaxed pose that I can, I'm trying to make sure that I get my message across, and you don't know how I feel. I could be faking it till I make it, and believe me, I do a lot. Right now, okay, maybe not so much, but the point is that when you're out there talking, you don't need to share every feeling that you have with everybody you come in contact with. People have a gamut of feelings throughout their day, and it's really important to just go ahead and just lean back a little bit and not necessarily share every aspect of your feeling. If you have a communication to make or you have a speech that you want to give, just give the speech. You don't need to go up there and say, "Oh, I'm really nervous, I'm really this, I'm really that." The audience doesn't need to know that. The audience needs to get the information that you are there to give them. Nobody else is going to give them the information that you have in the exact way that you're able to give, and that's your special gift. I'm not saying that it's better or worse, but it's special. You're the delivery agent. You are the sender in any given moment that you have a message. And you and your uniqueness is what is going to give that message different than anybody else. And so that's something to kind of remember. It's like life out there, we already discussed, it's not going to be perfect. Communications are not going to be perfect, and that's all right. What we want to do is make sure that when we're communicating, we're actually putting the emphasis on making the audience comfortable and really getting the message out. And it doesn't really make people comfortable to make excuses and to say this and to say that. People don't expect perfection. You don't need to go up there and tell them that you're nervous. Either they're going to see it for themselves or they'll never even know. They may not know. It's like making dinner. Say you followed a recipe. You don't need to tell everybody, "Hey, I think I put in too much, avocado." Like, let the audience decide. If everybody says, "Oh my goodness, this is so delicious," you don't need to pull out the recipe and say, "Well, I was supposed to do this and I was supposed to do that." It doesn't matter. What you created is what you created, and it's valid. So I just want you to kind of latch onto that. Think about that for a moment and let go of some of that perfectionistic idea and just move forward and just give that message that only you can give. Confidence is an illusion, all right? I can't tell you how many different speeches and performances I've made where I was worried. I was just outright worried, apprehensive, nervous, but I went out there and did the thing and nobody knew it. And so they perceived me as confident, which is great, and it's wonderful, and I want you to know this, that you don't have to be confident to appear confident. But if you get out in the world and you begin to make moves and make a difference out there, with what you have to contribute, then people are going to perceive you as confident, and oh my goodness, there's a natural process that happens. You start to actually feel confident. So it's really exciting to see how faking it till we make it can actually help us make it. And I've used that tool in my life for just decades. I want to talk about a few more points. Now, some people are really obsessed with being nice. They think the only way to be nice is to always be sweet, always be positive, always say something that, only sees the good side. Now, I think there's wonderful aspects to being positive. Of course, we've already talked about that. But, being nice sometimes is also being honest. That can take a lot of bravery, and I invite you to go out there and maybe share something honest with somebody. Maybe you're inclined, somebody asks you for your opinion and you're inclined to smooth out the edges. Well, guess what? They're asking for your opinion. They want to know what you think. So go out there and give them an honest interpretation of what you have to say. Be gentle, be kind, but you can be honest at the same time. I'll tell you that, you might think you're being nice, but if you don't tell me I have something in my tooth, no, you're being mean. You let me go out in public and I have stuff in my teeth, that is not nice. If you were honest with me and said, "Hey, Carole, something there," that is what I would appreciate. Yeah, there's a clumsy moment. Yeah, there might be an awkward feeling, but I'd rather have an awkward feeling right then than be accountable for somebody having an awkward feeling for their entire day. What happens when you go into the mirror and you find out you had all that stuff in your teeth? Okay, granted, beauty is only skin deep, but I want to try to maintain the skin deep beauty that I do have. So if you want to really be nice, consider infusing a little bit more honesty in your niceness. Now, I want to leave you with something that I practice for myself, and it's going to be part of our homework assignment, so I want you to kind of pay attention to this part. Years ago, I found that my circle of friends was not expanding. It was kind of contracting. And I found that I was actually feeling nervous to talk to strangers and different things like that. And I decided one day that I didn't like that trend, that I wanted to expand my circle. and I came up with a little something I call friendliness training. Now, it's not as easy as it may sound, or it's not as difficult as it may sound. Basically, what I decided is that I'm going to go out, and when I see people that I think are interesting, I'm going to approach them and say something. Now, sometimes it might just be saying hello, right? Sometimes I might just make a wave to somebody that looks friendly, or I might compliment them on their shoes, whatever. Now, I'm not suggesting you go up and lie to people and say, wow, I love your shoes, and do crazy things, but it's about being thoughtful. It's about looking out and maybe vibing with somebody and saying, wow, that's a cool person, and if they're in line with you at Starbucks, say hi. One thing I like to do is comment on pastries, right? Oh my goodness, the cranberry bliss bar looks amazing. Have you ever had that? Okay, that might be a lie, if I imply that I've never eaten it, but white lies can be okay, at this part of the process. The main point is that I take the opportunity to pay attention to who I think I might feel comfortable with, and then I take the responsibility to go out there and say hello. And then if it goes well, we might have a whole conversation. We might actually build some communication, sender, receiver, messages, all of these things. And over the years, I practiced this for about 2 years, and I found that I had built a broader circle of friends, that I felt more comfortable out in public, that I was able to interact with less anxiety. And now it's almost second nature. I can go out, even if I'm not really feeling the mood, I can go out, say hi, make friends, and just really feel more comfortable out there in the world. And that has just made such a difference for me. I've met some really great people and some really great contacts as well. Now, this week you have another homework assignment. Now, if you have difficulty with it, email amongst yourselves in the discussion group, or email me if absolutely necessary. But you have a couple things you're going to go out there and do this week. I want you to go out and talk to 3 people. I want you to go to Starbucks or the restaurant or wherever you're at, doesn't matter. Somebody you don't know that you think looks nice, that looks cool, looks interesting, whatever it is, make a comment. If it's as simple as hi, that's okay. Or if it's as complex as where did you get your hair done, go for it. Just make a statement. 3 people. The more you can do, the better you're going to feel. This is really a practice that you want to include in your life, but right now, you've got to do 3 people. I want you to write up about it, email me, let me know how it went, put it out in the discussion group, and then also, this week, I want you to be honest 3 times. Maybe when you were going to not be so honest, when you were going to try to be nice, I want you to experiment with a little bit of gentle honesty. When somebody asks your opinion, be honest, even if you think it's a risk. Maybe you want to say, well, are you sure you really want to know? Or, can I be really honest? Anything that you need to say to kind of soften up the edges, go ahead and do that. But just be honest 3 times when you weren't feeling like it. That is your assignment for this week. So next week we're going to talk about elevator speeches and making a dynamic difference out there in the social world. And I want to thank you again. I am Carole Anne Kaufman. This is Building a Better You, and we'll see you next time.